And welcome back to Jeff Koinange Live, the best of 2015, the highlights, the interviews that made this the year that was. Hope you're still enjoying it and hope you're still tweeting at Koinange Jeff. The hashtag is JKL Best of 2015. Here now are more of the guests that made this the best talk show on Kenyan television. So you're disappointed with your party and with the coalition?
Right. First of all, URP failed to hold elections, so it can be a party. We held elections up to the county level. Beyond the county level, they didn't. But they have officials in Nairobi. I don't know who elected them, but they have officials. I found them there. They even decided to sack my MCAs, 10 of them, including some of the ones you are seeing here. Even her, she was one of those who was to be sacked for reasons we could not understand. So how do we love you when you don't want us?
Speaking of love or love, no love lost.
Right.
What is the friction between you
and
Deputy President William Ruto?
No personal issues. These are ideological questions. I've told you he thinks about vendor-driven economy. I talk about demand-driven economy. That's the difference. Top down, bottoms up.
But before you in the same party, you had the same ideological thinking.
Yes, and we had written a very good manifesto, but none of them is being followed. If they went back to the same manifesto we did before the elections, I would have no problem. If they embraced democracy even in the parties, I would have no problem. But definitely, my mind is for the rural areas to grow. I cannot over-concentrate in Nairobi. I believe in devolution, and that has been proven to be the best way to generate a thriving economy. We can only get a sustainable growth if we started investing and ensuring that where the largest population live actually becomes sustainable in growth, that they have surpluses for their children, that they are able to have food, shelter, and clothing, and have surplus for them to dispose and create wealth. That's how to move the economy. That's my understanding.
If you were deputy president, would you do a better job?
Why a deputy president? A deputy president doesn't have a government. Yes.
You want to be president, don't you?
Oh, yes.
You want to be?
Yes.
President of Bomet County or president of Kenya?
Starting from here. I'm currently the president here.
Yes.
Yes, I'll still be.
You're going to run in 17?
Governor.
Nothing else?
Yes.
You're nobody's running mate?
No.
Code comes and picks you?
How do they pick me? Pick me? No way. But they can sell their policies. I would like to see their policies.
But you agree with some things that code says?
Oh yes, I agree with the idea on devolution. Our ideas merge at that stage. Yes.
So if the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, if he's running in 17 and he picks you as a running mate, says, Isaac Ruto, I want you to be my number 2.
Why would we pick me? Maybe he can only ask for my vote. He has got a deputy president in the waiting. He has Kalonzo Musyoka.
Yes.
Yes. What's the problem?
2022, it all comes for grabs. And they say there's going to be another Ruto in the State House.
It could be either.
Either that Ruto or this Ruto?
Yes.
All right, Governor. All right, all right. So coming back to Bomet County, your biggest critics talk about a few things that you bought out there. For instance, fire trucks. They said you spent 21 million shillings?
21 million shillings.
21 million shillings
Yes.
on a fire truck.
A fire truck. I bought 3, each at 7 million, times 3 is 21. And may I tell you, each truck can carry 2,000 liters of water. The conventional truck costs 52 million, and it carries 6,000 liters of water. If that conventional one starts attacking fire, it can take maybe an hour to put off fire. My 3 trucks will take a third of that. 20 minutes. They'll have put off the fire.
So why were people complaining? Maybe they got it wrong?
They got it wrong. They were looking at the colors. And they told me it is a Tata machine. They were looking at the colors. And they wanted maybe a box like machine, the one they are used to seeing.
On TV.
They didn't look at the machine. What did he want to do? If I have 3, even if one breaks down, I still have 2. If you have 1 and it is 52 million, meaning if I had 52 million, I would buy 7 and still have a balance of 3 million. I would buy 7 of them. And 7 of them would carry 7 times 2,000 liters. 14,000. This one only carries 6,000 at 52 million. Some of them were saying this is a Tata vehicle.
Yeah, they say it's an ugly truck.
It's an ugly truck. I don't think we were on a beauty contest for it.
Before we go to commercial, can we touch on the Auditor General's report? Is that okay? We switch gears.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that right?
Yeah.
50+ billion. He throws that number out there. Everyone's up in arms. Tony, what is going on? Did this guy not do his homework, or what is it?
Winston Churchill said, of all the virtues of a man, none is more important than courage. And for that, I tell Ouko, the Auditor General, I give you 1. Because if you have courage to do your work, you have my support. But with that also comes the flip side of the coin. If you point your finger, my grandmother used to say, 3 are pointing back at you, and God is the witness. And Jeff, it's geography. If you look at it, or if you look at it, it may be design. And if you look at it, it may be architecture. But if you look at it, it's a moral message. And the issue is this. If Parliament receives the Auditor General's report, scrutinizes that report, and finds that he was wrong and misled Kenyans, and ministers and people in public standing who are good men have been harmed by his report, what consequence will he take for doing that to disrepute people who are not in problems?
Did he do his job, Tony? Did he do his job?
I allowed him for doing his job. Now he must allow Parliament to do theirs, to scrutinize the report which by law he is required to give to Parliament. And Parliament will audit it and give us a report. Should we find that his figures were wrong, and maybe they are, if they are wrong, Kenyans must also give him the same venom that they give the report which he alleged other people to have. Because Jeff, you know very clearly that the arc of history may be long, but it always bends towards justice. And justice must be to all, the accused and the accuser. What happened with this lion in Zimbabwe? What was it called?
Cecil.
The man who attacked, who was the hunter?
Dentist, some American dentist.
Now who is the hunted?
He is.
And I am saying to Oko, I hope you didn't kill Cecil, because you might be the hunted. And now you have written the report. Now let Parliament write theirs. Because we elected democratic institutions in this country, because nobody is above the law. And I want to remind people who think I'm here to defend the president. The president faced the ICC for 6 years.
Correct.
6 years. He has a family, he has a wife, he has a mother, he has a brother. He faced it and he defeated it. He himself subjected himself to justice. Who are these other people who cannot subject? The other day I heard Willie Mutunga saying that the courts are corrupt and that he's warning judges he's going to vet them again. The Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya. Now I'm saying Kenyans be reasonable. This is not tribalism. This is not regionalism. This is about Kenya. And Obama told us, be proud of your country. That's why I'm wearing the uniform of this nation. That's why I wear the flag, because I want to say what I mean and mean what I say. And I want to say this, Jeff, I know we're going to the break. You can cheat some of the people, some of the time. You can cheat all of the people,
some of the time.
But you cannot cheat all the people,
all of the time.
Take your break.
Our nation. The state of our nation. Look, NYS, because, you know, if we would talk about Nakada, and I mentioned it at the top of the show, but it's so fluid right now. We don't know who said what, when, where, and you know, it's all so convoluted. Let's put Nakada aside. That's for another day. NYS seemed to be a thing that was going quite well. And then all of a sudden, people are rioting, people are burning toilets, and it looks like a big mess of a good intention.
You know, I mean, that's something I must say. NYS, I haven't really been following so much, because to try and get an objective view, even in the media now, is incredibly difficult. And I mean, you see the tragedy of guys, you know, trying to treat the government a lesson by burning the toilets and trashing, you know, everything they've got, as if that's going to have any effect on anyone in power.
No.
I mean, that was the irony of it. But I think the essence is, on the scorecard, corruption is something that we are lagging on, and we've got to do something about it. And I think, like a lot of things at the top, they've got the vision, they know what they want to do about it. It's how do you execute it. And maybe it involves executing people.
Is the will there, executing, I like that. Is the will there, Chris? You know, is the initiative there?
I think that from what I've seen, I genuinely think the initiative is there. I think the will is there. I think we're very fortunate to have a president who has no desire or no need to go out and make money. Yeah. And I think he's got, you know, from that side, there is certainly no, you know, the agenda of the government is clear. But like with many things, by the time it gets down to the actual execution, something goes awry. And the question with corruption is, where is that problem? Is it the EACC? Is it CID? Is it, you know, the procurement guys around them? I mean, there's so many layers of it, so where do you start? And I think everyone, globally, when you look at these things, you see it starting at the top, and people at the top have to go. And until that day happens, and until close associates, you know, feel the pain, I'm afraid we'll still be in this cycle.
Well, look, 5 cabinet secretaries had been suspended for a while, and then all of a sudden it looks like most of them were coming back.
Yeah. Well, I think that there's need here to have an efficient internal monitoring unit of sorts that actually has the powers to deliver. It's politically independent, people of integrity, and people who are passionate. I used to do prosecution when I was in the UK as a barrister, and the level and competence of prosecution here is needing, to say the least. And I think we just need to bring in a small core of guys, and their mandate is just to go and deliver on justice. Because I think one of the big issues having at the moment is people are losing confidence in the rule of law in this country, and that really is the cornerstone of any democracy. Yeah. And rule of law is not just about you know, whether it's the matatus, whether it's the litter. It's fundamental things like seeing no one being prosecuted effectively for corruption.
You said everything starts at the top, emanates at the top. The president, well-meaning, the minions may be afraid to talk to him, may be afraid to convey messages to him. Do you think there's a lack of communication somewhere?
You know, there's always going to be a communication breakdown between the head of state and the lower echelons of administration. I mean, one thing I've learned, though, in my capacity as the chairman of the Kenya Film Commission is we have, and it's something that's changed hugely in the last few years, we have some of the most competent technocrats in this country that I've ever come across. And you'll be surprised by that. People are always surprised when I say that. The level of competence with our civil servants, especially the higher civil servants, is out of this world.
Right.
So the competence is there, the capacity is there.
What's lacking?
What is lacking is the desire to do so. And I think a lot of them, speaking to them, have just either got to the stage where they're so frustrated that their intentions have come to naught, that it's either join them or, you know, beat them or join them, and they've decided, well, to be honest, I'm not going to join them, so I'm just going to stand by. And there needs to be a bridge somehow between those high-level technocrats who want to do the right thing, some of the PSs, some of the top secretaries and directors in government departments, who really are doing the right thing and have been doing the right thing for probably 30, 40 years, but have just got frustrated with the fact that they're seeing everybody else eating.
You're a pretty outspoken guy, Chris, and you speak your mind all the time, every time I'm with you. Would you be able to tell someone like the president what was right, what was wrong? Would someone like you?
If I was ever given the chance, I'd have a very candid conversation with him.
Without fear, without favor, without...
Yeah, but, you know, I do believe that there are some people who can do that with him, and I think he has, obviously, I'm not privy to it, but he must have people who he listens to. But, you know, traditionally in many cultures, the chief always had somebody who, you know, who told him the truth. And your role was to tell the chief or the king the truth. And if you didn't, then your head came off. You know, and you were to tell him unpopular things as well. And I think sometimes, and this is where we've got to be very careful with, sometimes where we have an opposition that is negative on absolutely everything, you go into this fortress sort of mentality where everything is being put out as negative. No one's saying, well done on this, well done on that. Everything's negative. So you say, why do we even have to listen to that? Whereas if they're a bit more proactive and a bit more constructive in their dialogue, it would encourage them, I think, to open up and say, right, actually, you've got a fair point on this. Let's look in this a little bit deeper, etc. But I do think the will's there at the top. The question is, why isn't it trickling down to the bottom?
Yeah. Okay, let's switch gears. Security. Big issue. Terrorism. Huge issue. And, you know, there was a terrorist attack thwarted not too long ago at a military camp in Lamu. So it looks like some things are being done.
You know, Jeff, the security we've got to split into two, the terrorism and the internal security. Terrorism, I'm afraid I'm of the view that we're getting it wrong. I have a certain background in this. And one of the main issues is, traditionally, if you look at terrorists globally over the last 100 years and how those battles have been won, first of all, you send in the military for a short period of time just to remind them who's boss. Then after that, it boils down to good policing and good intelligence. At the same time, you're running a political dialogue in order to reach an end game. And if you look at everything, whether you look at the Shining Path guys currently, or you go right back to the IRA or whoever it is, those are the way they've done it. Military followed by good policing, good intelligence, and a political dialogue in the process. What we've done is we've got stuck on step one, which is the military option. And the military option was fine to a certain degree. And our guys in Somalia, most of them are doing a great job, but we need to move on from that. And the good policing involves good community work, and that's where we've woefully failed, is to bring in the communities. And without bringing the communities, we're going to be at loggerheads and fighting. And I think if there was one criticism I'd make on this issue, is we've militarized too much of our security. We have militaries, it's just far too militarized in terms of decision making. So the mindset is a military mindset. And the military mindset is fine when you're out there. And that is why most countries actually in their constitutions have very clear rules as to military engagement within that country.
Johnny Carson, former Undersecretary of State for Africa, right before the elections in 2013 said, choices have consequences. Referring, of course, to two candidates, President Uhuru right now and his deputy, William Ruto, who were suspects in the ICC. So we're asking, is Obama coming now because the president's case has been withdrawn?
You know, what I would tell you is this. I mean, first and he was the Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs, Johnny Carson. I think the statement, as it's been repeated and discussed, has really been taken out of context. And frankly, it was never intended as a threat by the United States. So what I'm really focused on is obviously President Obama's visit, which will be historic, the Global Entrepreneurship Summit, and the reality that our relations are excellent. And Kenya is an extraordinarily important country. President Kenyatta is the democratically elected leader. And I think it's very important for our two countries to have strong relations and to be working together. And are the relations strong, Balozi? Are they strong right now? The relations are strong. We're working together in so many different areas, whether it be security or agriculture or education. Obviously, we have an extraordinarily deep relationship. In fact, if there's one thing that I think has been kind of more impressive to me than any other, it's the real depth of the U.S.-Kenya relationship. So there obviously is a lot going on government to government, and we could spend a lot of time talking about whether it's the security assistance or development assistance through USAID. Health. We have a Centers for Disease Control office here. It's actually the largest CDC operation in the world outside the United States. Deep partnership with Kenya's health professionals. But beyond the government-to-government part of this is the business-to-business and the people-to-people. So business-to-business, more than 100 American companies. We see things like the IBM Research Center, one of 12 that IBM has globally here. We see General Electric having its continental headquarters here. We see last year $2 billion worth of trade. We see Kenyan companies increasingly exporting to the United States under AGOA, so 40,000 Kenyan jobs. And AGOA was renewed, wasn't it? And AGOA was just renewed for 10 years. Yep. Tremendous thing. We see the people-to-people part of this. So there are about sort of 15,000 Americans living here in Kenya. 100,000 Americans, more or less, come to visit every year. There are over 100,000 Kenyans living in the United States. And no one knows precisely the number, but it's big. It's over 100,000. Yeah. 3,200 Kenyan students are studying at American universities. That's the second largest number of African studying in the United States. So there's just this extraordinarily deep relationship. Another example, the University of Nairobi alone has more than 50 American university partnerships. And lots of other universities here also have these partnerships with all kinds of American universities doing everything imaginable. So there's just this extraordinarily deep partnership between the American people and the Kenyan people, the American government and the Kenyan government. And I do think that President Obama's visit will help take this to yet another level.
Okay, what a show, what guests, what themes, what a platform. Thank you so much for watching Jeff Koinange Live throughout the past year. You can only get Jeff Koinange Live right here on Kenya's television network, KTN. Thanks, too, for making Jeff Koinange Live the best talk show on Kenyan television. Tomorrow night, the best of the best of the best of the shows that inspired you the most throughout 2015. It is going to be television at its very best. Make sure you catch us right here on KTN tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Thanks so much for watching. Good night, good luck, and God bless.